Did I get it there?
No, you did not.
Close.
Thank God it started a little later than that. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Cubist. My name is Bill Corey. I am the Cubist, and it is episode 51. We are starting our next 50. I don't know. Is this a season? How about every 50? It's sort of a season, right? Yeah, I like that. This is season 2.
Electric.
It's official. There you go. Cubist 2 Electric Boogaloo starting today. Episode 51. So we are on the heels of our 50th episode celebration, and we're going to be giving away some stuff later on in the show. But first, let's talk to the crew. Joining me, as always, Mr. Patrick Hillier. Hello, Patrick.
Hello.
How's it going?
It's going good.
Good. And then also Mr. Brandon Kemp. Hello, Brandon.
Hello, Bill. Hello, Patrick. How goes it?
You are indeed a lovely co-pilot, Brandon. I agree. I mean, that's how I was going to describe you, actually.
Thanks.
You're
I appreciate
it. All right. Tonight, we're going to be talking about apps in tabletop gaming. There's a couple of different ways we're going to come at this as apps, the game apps themselves, like app ports of regular tabletop games, and then also apps as part of the tabletop experience itself. I think there's sort of two sides to this. I want to touch on both of them over the span of the show. But first, let's talk about what we have been playing today. Patrick, your very subtle visual aids. This one is the biggest of your visual aids so far. You had to clear a whole shelf for this one, it looks like.
I did.
Go for it.
22 pounds of visual aid. Get over here. That's just an empty box.
It's just an empty box? All right, that's fair.
Empty box. I'm opening up the chat room over here. All right. So, yeah, I just got started into wave 2 of Gloomhaven. It arrived, I don't know, when did it arrive? Just a couple over the week. So first things that happened was I opened it up and I punched it and I tweeted some pictures. I had like, I don't know if you guys, you get Jello shots in them from, I go to the, what's it called? We have Gordon Foods. I don't know. It's a restaurant supply place, and they're little plastic cups that you might get ketchup or Jello shots in or whatever. And they're like, you get 250 of them for like $2. And they're good for sorting game bits in, and they got little plastic lids. And I just kept sorting stuff. And I had my little card table that's in my living room where I watch TV and sort things, just completely covered with different covered cups of all the bits, going, what the hell am I going to do with all of this stuff? Because I don't have the organizer yet. And anyway, I tried to figure out what I was going to do. So anyway, so for those of you who know, I'm working from home. So my game table is covered with architecture stuff in my computer. And so I ended up setting up another card table with a little side table going, well, this is going to be my official Gloomhaven settings. So I set that up downstairs with my box of things, and I've made it through the first room of the first dungeon, and that's it. So I really can't speak too much of Gloomhaven. Oh, I need to back up. So then I got down and I started reading through the manual, and page 2 of the manual is the table is all the stuff you have. What do they call that?
The components list.
The components list. And I'm like, hey, where's all my minis? Crap, I don't have my minis. And I'm looking at page 2, and at page 2 is like, oh yeah, here's the character cards. Oh, I don't have those either. Where's home? Oh, maybe they're upstairs. So I ran back upstairs, and I'm looking all over upstairs. I'm like, well, maybe I threw them away. So then I'm looking through the trash, and then I jump on the quick Kickstarter. I'm like, well, maybe I didn't order the minis or something. Maybe that was like an add-on. I'm like, no, they're not on there. So then I get on the internet, and then some other idiot did the same thing, and somebody chimed in and goes, well, did you open up the boxes for players, the introductory players? Because they're in those little boxes. Because this is like a legacy game, and you only open up certain boxes. Well, then when you get to page 6, not page 1, but page 6 is where it says to open up those little boxes. And that's where your player characters are in your...
So wait, your character miniatures are in the boxes where the rest of your character stuff is?
Uh-huh.
Weird.
Yeah, all that stuff's hidden, and it doesn't tell you that until page 6.
Right. You didn't get miniatures, did you, Bill?
No. The version that I have is I have standees only.
Yeah, standees, right.
Okay.
The miniatures are standard in the 2nd edition set.
Okay.
But they come in boxes for some reason.
Right.
I don't know why. Why are the starting characters hidden? I don't get.
It's just probably for organization to send it that way, and then you've had the symbols on it, right? So you know which ones to open.
Right, which ones go which. So I
It's just
started with.
I assume it's mostly uniform, so it just all stays the same.
I will say this as well. In the custom insert market, Gloomhaven has been one of the sort of white whales, right? Like everybody has been aiming for an insert because this game, I would say, getting it to and from the table, like setup and teardown, is the biggest hurdle you'll have with Gloomhaven.
Sure, and that's why I have a permanent setup.
Right, exactly. So for those of us that can't have a permanent setup, a custom insert is a really big deal. And because the first edition, the miniatures were not in those boxes, right? The miniatures came separate.
Yes.
So they were in their own kind of thing. The insert is meant for first and second edition. So I suspect that they were like, hey, we're not going to screw with all the people that designed all this crap to get our game playable. We'll keep things sort of the same general packaging. That is my guess. Does that make sense?
Yep.
All right. That would be the other thing that I would say. So there you go. All right.
So Brandon asked in the chat room, am I playing it solo? Yes, I am playing 2 characters solo. On my own, so that had always been my intent, was just to leave this set up and play it solo.
Did he or it is in the second edition rules? Does it tell you that if you're playing solo, you're supposed to dial the difficulty up by 1?
Correct.
Okay, that is still in second edition. Okay, I was just checking. Got it. Okay.
All right. I'm playing Etu, the Brute, and Quattro Tinker Kale.
Gotcha. Very cool. I think that was the pair that we were originally playing as well. Now we are currently playing the Brute and the Rogue, I think, or the Scoundrel, or whatever he's named, the throwing knives guy. So
I did watch Paul Grogan's videos to give me some tips.
Yes, and you do. By the way, I cannot strongly, because I just got the Broken Token insert for my copy. And matter of fact, that's how I posted a lot of things called Nerds Giving. Molly and I spent an entire evening just building that insert. That was our evening home. And it's wonderful. But it has a spot for miniatures, which I don't have, which hurts me. So I tweeted out to Isaac and never got a response. So I'm going to start bugging him. If anybody has any hookups, let me know.
They were an add-on to the second Kickstarter, so I'm sure there's going to be an aftermarket or a way to get them.
Yeah, well, I didn't see them when I looked on the thing. I must have missed that somewhere along the way. But oh well. All right, but you're having fun so far?
I mean, I've spent more time
organizing,
reading rules, and sorting through trash than I have playing. Yeah, I'm not in love with it. I'm not
yet. Wait till the story actually starts.
The first scenario isn't all that exciting.
Yeah, a lot of it's just been, how do I move this guy, and what does this symbol mean, and learning the game. But so
yeah, you'll be getting the
once I get it memorized, and it is a little tricky managing 2 characters. And
oh yeah,
I've never really been a fan of that on a 2-player game of whose turn is it, and so I kind of and then on top of that, each one's got 2 cards, and which one's my up card and which one's my down card, and I'm really keeping track of 4 cards. So it's not arduous. It's really actually quite a simple game.
Yeah, it definitely qualifies as one of those games, which I think we're seeing more of lately, which is that the mechanics light but immersion heavy. So it doesn't take a lot to get you in the door.
Right.
And once you're there, figuring out why you're doing what the easy choices, like the choices aren't easy, but I mean, once enacting the mechanics, it's more about figuring out why you're doing it rather than what to do.
Yeah.
I think that's a selling point for sure. All right. So I feel like you're 1 room into the first dungeon, asking you to give a rating on this game is a poor choice.
Yeah, I don't really have much.
On the bright side, if you were to burn it, you're home for like a couple hours on that.
Yeah, well, you got the whole winter covered, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
Especially
some of that stuff is slow burn.
If you get a custom insert in there too. Just saying. So
I could. But actually, speaking of inserts, I cheaped out. So I did some research, and there were some alternative insert options, and one was 3-ring binders and sleeves, or what do they call those plastic things? So I got business cards, and those are holding like the shopping cards in order for me, and CD holders have got all the bad guys, and their bad guy things are in those, and I got the big pocket ones holding the dungeons in alphabetical order for me.
Yep. I've seen. I had the big square envelopes, sort of like CD holders, but slightly bigger, that I was using as well before I got the insert. The custom insert gives you printed tuck boxes that the cards and then their little standees will fit into, which I really like. So I thought that was pretty slick too. Although one of the standees does not fit in the tuck boxes. We won't talk about that because it's a little bit spoilery, but there is a standee for a very large bad guy that does not fit in its box, which I thought was cool.
Yeah. There's a whole bunch of big cardboard bad guys that I figure you're going to bump into later.
Yep, for sure. All right. In the interest of full disclosure, I have two games to talk about. They were both provided to me as review copies from the manufacturer. So just so everybody knows, I was given free copies of two things from Mercury Games. The first one we're going to talk about is Zombie Slam. Hey, look, I'm pulling a Patrick. I actually remembered to bring the games out, and I'll have them on camera for a change. This is Zombie Slam.
You're being organized?
Yeah, shut up. It's almost like I paid attention this week. It's great. This is designed by Sen and Jay, the Bamboozle brothers. Sen was on the show not so long ago talking about the Legend of Korra game that he just had on Kickstarter recently. This is a game. The box says 2 to 6 players, ages 13 and up. Takes about 15 minutes. That's the box. We'll come back to that in a minute. The basic idea behind Zombie Slam is it is an app-driven game, which is part of why we're talking about apps tonight and why I'm talking about this game today. It is an app-driven game where the app basically says that you are there are stacks of cards and you have to slam, i.e. play slapjack, on a stack of cards that whose top card matches whatever it is that the app calls out. So it might say something blue or 3 of something or a first aid kit or a gun or whatever. And you need to create sets of one of each of the 4 types. There are first aid kits, guns, planks of wood, and flashlights. And to survive, you need to have one of each of those by the end of the day. And the day is, I think, 10 rounds long. And if you don't survive, you become a zombie. And once you're a zombie, your goal is to take out all the other surviving players. So it's a game with shifting win conditions. We've seen a few of those recently. Actually, Bemused, which we talked about on the show when we had Jim from Devious Weasel Games, has something similar. It's sort of the same kind of mechanic as this. This, however, is just straight up speed pattern matching. This is find the first person to slap on a stack that has something blue on it will get that stack and can add it to their thing. There is the tiniest amount of strategy when you're talking about, like, I know for a fact that I need to get a flashlight card in order to complete a backpack so that way I can live through the round. So I'll be watching especially for those. But other than that, it's straight up pattern matching. And for me, there are a lot of other pattern matching games that I would rather play. Having said that, I think the app is excellent. The actual app that Mercury Games released for the game is really good. It actually does like flavor, like you key in each player what character they're playing, and then those characters talk, and they are the ones that are looking for the specific things. So they're like, well, you need to search the hospital and find something blue, which is super stupid when you're actually listening to it, but it works, right? And at least gives you some sort of narrative. But from a context standpoint, it's really dumb. The survivors will want, I need something. I don't care what it is, as long as there's exactly 3 of them. What? Okay, fine. The game works, and it's definitely not for me. So from a personal gamer standpoint, this is a forget it for me. However, if you have kids that you think you can stand the idea of a zombie-themed game with, this turns into a buy it. Like if you have a family and you think that they will dig the idea of a zombie game and you want to play something with them, this is a solid game for that. This is why I questioned the box saying it's a 13 and up game. Molly, I played it with Molly, and she said, what does the box say for age? I told her, she's like, yeah, no, maybe maximum of 13. Like she said 8 to 12 would be the target for her. She said, my daughter would have loved this game when she was younger. So for a family game, I think it's a buy it. For gamers, it's a forget it for me. Have either one of you played this?
Nope. No.
Do you like pattern matching games at all, like Spot It and that sort of thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. This is that with a tiniest bit of narrative and shifting end game conditions. That's it. It's like Spot It Plus, sort of, for lack of a better term. So that is Zombie Slam. It's got its demographic. I'm just not it. There you go. The other one that they sent me is called Shopping Time. This is also Mercury Games. This is designed by Daryl Andrews. And this game basically is The Price is Right.
Oh, I learned that's Daryl Mandrews.
Mandrews. I'm sorry. Yes, that's true. That's true. He is extra manly.
His middle initial is M.
Yeah, I know. Yes, thank you, Phil. This is, I guess, if we're going to mangle names. So Shopping Time from Daryl M. Mandrews. The idea behind this is it's a drafting game. So take a card, pass the rest to the left. You are accruing cards in order to meet a target price. So think the Showcase Showdown from Price is Right.
I heard about this one.
Yeah, the only difference is the cards are from different eras of time. So like you might have a clothes iron from 1936 or a bag of charcoal from 2003 or whatever. So you have all of these, right? So you not only have the items, but you have a time period. So you have to sort of take your brain back to how much you think these things were likely to cost back in the day. I am objectively terrible at this game. We'll start with that. So keep that in mind. It uses your phone, by the way. Every card has a QR code on it. So at the end of the round, you literally take your phone's camera and scan every QR code of all the cards that you collected. And if you are the closest to the target amount without going over of all the stuff in your shopping cart, you will get the most points. And then it ranks them below that. Anybody that went over doesn't get any points. And then the closer you were, the more points you'll get. We thought this was a really good party game for the right people. This is another one where you're going to have to be the correct demographic. I am not that demographic because I have no concept, apparently, of how much things cost ever. I was awful at this game, like real bad. I stopped early because you can stop drafting whenever you want. And I stopped very early every round of the game and was way under. Like I thought things were way more expensive than they were. So apparently I have no idea. But we really liked it. We liked this one a lot. We thought this was a solid play it. If you have a group, this might be a good game to take to parties with non-gamers because they will enjoy the idea of this quite a bit. So this one would work for that. And again, this one, by the way, has an app as well that is required. The other one has an app that is that works, but you don't need it. And we'll talk about that when we get into our main segment. There is also an analog way with using cards that you can run Zombie Slam if you don't want to use a phone. This one, you absolutely have to have a phone that has a camera. So there's no way around that I'm aware of. And actually, I might have lied to you. There might be something in the rulebook that talks about if you don't have a camera, no worries, do this. But you absolutely have to have the app. And at this point, aren't we at the point where if you need a smart device, what are the odds you're going to have one that doesn't have a camera? Right? Like, I don't feel like that's a thing. So there you go. So Shopping Time. For us, we're calling it a play it across the board. And that might turn into a buy it if you have the right group. But it's fun. It's interesting. You said you heard something about this one, Patrick?
Yeah, I remember hearing about it, just thinking it would be fun. I mean, I'm kind of a game show junkie, so any game that sort of recreates that feel, I'd be into it.
Like I don't know that it feels like a game show when you're playing it, but it uses that same mechanic, right? Like it definitely, it's definitely got its idea.
Yeah, so I think I'd be cool with it.
All right. So we are going to give away both of these games.
Yay.
This is going to be one of the prize packages for people that participated in the contest that we announced in episode 50, which only got a few entries for, but we also have a copy. Our main winner is going to get a copy of 51st State in honor of it being episode 51 that we give it away.
What?
Yeah, I know. Generously donated by Matt in the chat. Donated that one. And then, hang on, what else do we got?
Odin's Ravens. We'll give away a copy of that.
We're going to give away a copy of Odin's Ravens as well. So
Eric Buscemi speaks highly of that game.
It's a fantastic two-player game.
There you go. All right. So we have 4 entries and 4 winners. So there you go. Everybody that participated is going to win something. But I think our overall winner, did we agree on the I think the well, we'll do this. We'll announce the actual winners in just a little bit because we'll have a little confab here in the host only chat while we're talking about this. But we'll get to there. We'll get to that in a little bit. So, but before, wow, I am all over the map tonight. Deep breath. Okay, here we go. I don't know. I'm extra manic today. Let's get into the main topic, apps and games. I talked about 2 of them that use them. We've had a couple other people talking about it in the chat room. There's sort of 2 halves to this conversation, right? We're gonna have apps that are used in cardboard gaming, and then app ports of cardboard games. I feel like those are sort of 2 separate conversations, but I don't want to like ignore either one of them. And we could probably go. Oh, well, you want to?
No, you're fine. I don't have a whole lot to say about it,
sir.
Talk, Brandon.
I don't have a whole lot to say about it. We played it Wednesday night.
Okay, by the way,
what are we talking about? Yeah,
we played Pulsar 2849 from Czech Games Edition, and designer Vladimir. Who's our mispronouncer of last names?
That's Patrick.
Yeah,
Putin. I believe it's pronounced Putin.
Putin. It's Vladimir Suchi, I believe is how it is, but I'm not sure. And it was fun. Half the table despised it. We'll say that. Half the table liked it, and we're going to try it again before we get a review out for it here. I'm going to do a knee-jerk review of it pretty quick, and then a final review in January. But my one warning to people is this is the feldiest of all feldy games that could be set in space. That's what this is. This is not a big epic space game. This is a draft dice, get points game. And if you like that, you're going to love Pulsar 2849 because the theme is actually good compared to a Feld. How do you like that? But if you don't like that, and if you prefer, if that theme is going to kind of, because the theme did throw people, I think the theme kind of, you set it up on the table, you look at it, and you think, whoa, this is going to, and then you start going, and you're like, well, wait a minute. This isn't what I imagined at all. So I think it's going to throw people. So just go in knowing that it is just a Euro with points everywhere. Right?
So I think I agree for the most part. I actually remember when I sat down for my first play at BGG saying this is a love letter to Feld. This feels like a Feld game.
But is a dice drafting Euro.
Yeah, it's a dice drafting Euro. I think that the space theme carries a little bit farther than you're talking about because there is that physical movement around the board, and there's actually sort of
there is physical movement around the board, and there's no hindrance, there's no anything really. You can just go where you want to go.
Sort of, but you have to prioritize exploration over other things.
Yes.
I'm just saying the theme carries a little bit stronger than
okay.
But I really
this could be themed as shipping in the Mediterranean, and you're just going to do the same thing.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's really cool looking, and it was a fun game. I was half of the table that enjoyed it, so we'll put that out there.
Gotcha.
And I normally don't like these kind of, Feld-like games. This one was fun. I like the dice drafting, and I like the mechanism for moving left to right for finding the median, which set up all sorts of jokes for the rest of the whole game.
Mm-hmm. And Twitter.
Because I like the movement that can be based there, where you have the choice of whether you want to go first, so you're going to move up either that track, or if you want to do other things. If you want more engineering cubes, you go up that track. So you see, there's just always things you can do, even if you're like, oh crap, that pulsar that was close to me is taken. I can just go do 15 other different things. Yep. Is kind of how I felt about it. So it's a definite play it. Don't get me wrong, it's going to be a play it, but I want to play it again, and then we'll give more thought on it.
So Pulsar for me is in my short list of top game of 2017.
Yep.
This was in the interest of full disclosure. Brandon acquired a review copy of it from Czech Games. I was his mule. I picked it up for him at BGG and brought it back to him. He said specifically, hey, Bill, go ahead and crack my copy and play it. Yep. So I did. And then I got up from playing the first game, walked to the Czech Games booth, bought myself a copy, sat back down and played it again on the spot. And then I handed off the in-shrink copy to Brandon that I bought. So I kept the cracked one. I think it is excellent. It is everything that I wish most Feld games would be, which is that a little bit more thematically integrated and really pretty on the table. I think it's gorgeous. And they just...
If you don't like space themes, it's going to do nothing for you. If you're one of those people who think space themes are overdone, which they kind of have been, and if you're one of those people that needs certain things in your space game, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah, you can't look at it as a space game.
Well, you have to look at it as a space game because that's what it is, Bill.
Well, but my point is you don't go into it expecting Eclipse or TI-4 or, even Empires of the Void or any of those other more spacey space games. You know what I mean? I just think it doesn't, you can't approach it with the same mindset. So I agree with you wholeheartedly on that.
Yeah.
I just really like this game. This is, like I said, short list for me.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's definitely a play it. I think if you tend to like Euros and you like to, it seemed a bit long, but that may have just been first played thing, so I'll better talk about that the next time we try it and see what happens.
Yeah. I will say, when I played the 2 games that I played back to back, the first game we were all learning and Molly was teaching, the second game I was teaching 2 new players. Second game went almost, I would say, twice as fast. Second game we got it done in under 90 minutes with a teach.
Okay.
So it definitely speeds up.
Yep. It almost has to.
Yep, for sure. I might even do, I might be doing a Cubist Unscripted later on in the week with a quick teach of Pulsar because it's an easier game to teach and I want people to be able to see it.
Yeah, the rule book is fantastic, first and foremost.
Well, Check Games always does good rule books. That's kind of the thing.
Paul knocked it out of the park with his rules video. There literally was, there was some checking back and forth with things in the rule book, but you can teach it really quick. And once you read it and understand it, you're good to go.
Yep, for sure.
Really easy to go with. Some points, it seems like they maybe talked themselves into a corner and made things a little more confusing, but it was few and far between.
Yeah, I think to me, that's always one of those cases where somebody had a weird question. And, I feel like there are a lot of rule books where there might be an edge case. And so they really want to make sure they explain it. They're
trying to over-explain it and it just confuses it a little bit.
Yep. I agree. All right, Brandon, I apologize.
No, you're fine, Bill. I didn't even, before we started, I didn't even say if I was going to talk about anything. So
I know. See, it's his fault. It's his fault, everybody. It's not just me being a terrible host.
It is.
I'm also sometimes a terrible host. So there's that. All right. Apps and games. I want to start with apps as games. So app ports of cardboard games. Okay. I want to start there and then we'll go into the apps like helper apps, games that require or use an app. And then we'll end with optional apps, right? So apps that aren't required for a specific game or whatever, but things that are just helpful, like toolbox apps. And I think we probably each got a couple of those. So let's start with app ports. I know that there are a lot of people that really love app gaming on their electronic devices. I am not one of those people. There are maybe a half a dozen games that are board game ports that I actually like on electronic devices. And I feel like I've spent a lot of money on them. So I don't want to be super negative Nancy here because apparently I was Love Spreader of the Week. I have an image to maintain now where I.
Oh, now you're done. You could just.
Yeah, that's true. I am no longer Love Spreader of the Week. I have indeed passed.
You no longer have to spread that love, Bill.
I no longer have to spread my love all over the internet. All right, fine. But I'm trying to be better. And I'm going to be a curmudgeon anymore. Anyway, so let's talk about apps that we really like that work. I think, Patrick, do you have a go-to app on your phone that you play?
No. I have a tendency to get. I got a list of apps. Well, let me preface a couple things that I did some prep before I got started. I want to defer to Sue Sheldon.
Yes.
Who is the queen of apps. And if you go to her Twitter page, she pinned a Google Doc that has a list of all the known apps that are out there. Mm-hmm. And for those who don't know, there are iOS apps and there are Android apps. and there are Steam apps. And so when people talk about apps and what apps they like, and hey, do you play this app? You kind of need to clarify what device you're talking about, because not everyone has the same games on the same platforms, and they don't all exist at the same time. We were talking about shoot, what's the game? Innovation? No. It's
I believe in you, Patrick. You
right
can...
there in Ingenious.
It's right
my
there.
My wife has it on her Apple device, and it's no longer on the store anymore. So things go away.
Yeah.
But it's a really good app version that she and I like to play where we're at restaurants or in long lines. It's not necessary. So there is a go-to app that I like to play. But anyway, I sorted it by Android apps, and then I listed them by things that I think replace games. Such as Sentinels, Talisman, Pandemic, OnRim. OnRim's one where things we have to shuffle all the time. It's just a pain in the neck to shuffle OnRim. Where apps that are just really good. San Juan's one I love to play a lot on my phone. Think of some others. Lanterns is a really good one.
Lanterns is one of the few that I have that I actually really like.
And then the only one I actually really noted as bad was Glass Roads. It just was a bad app. I don't think it worked really well.
We're talking about Android here, right?
Yeah, of the ones that I've played.
Gotcha.
But some of the other ones that are good that I think I still play either way. Like I probably only play Ticket to Ride as an app. Like I still enjoy it as a game, but I'll only play it as an app.
Yep. I agree with that.
Catan. I'll still play Catan as a game as an app because I can just play it by myself and not worry about it.
This is where we part ways.
Yeah.
I would rather play Catan physically at a table. One of the things that I've discovered about me, sorry to interrupt you, Patrick, we'll come back to your list in a second here, is that for me, first off, the number of decisions that I have to make and the density of information I have to intake are the thresholds that determine whether I'm going to like a game as an app version or not. So if I have to make a lot of decisions and process a lot of information at once, I'm less likely to enjoy it as an app, which is where Catan falls for me. I need to be able to look at the map. I need to see how many cards, what my cards are, and how many cards all the other players have and their relative positions. And it just feels like that's just slightly a bridge too far for that particular game.
Sure.
Ticket to Ride, I 100% agree with you on. I will only play Ticket to Ride on an app version of whatever.
Right.
But yeah, it depends. It's really, to me, that's the threshold on whether the game is good as an app version or not. Brandon, you don't like Catan, period, right?
Correct. I was being a smart.
Yeah, I'm just throwing that. That's probably one of the weakest ones.
As I've never even tried the app, quite honestly. So
I used to play a ton of it. I've kind of gotten bored with it because it's just
But I wasn't just outing you as a Catan hater, Brandon. I was throwing this to you because I wanted to know, are there games that you don't like unless they are apps, or are there games that you like and then the app hurts the game for you?
Nope. Apps strictly for me are just a time killer. And I usually only play them when I have time to kill. I don't ever look to an app to play instead of something else. I would rather throw Ticket to Ride on the table and play it. Agreed. I would rather play anything on the table over an app.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I don't think there's an app out there that recreates a get board game for me the way it should be recreated. Because, it's digital. You lose half the fun of playing a game.
Right.
I can think of about three, maybe 2 or 3 games that I think break that last sentence, but they are very far and few between. Like, I would always rather play Talisman on Steam than play it. Now, I will play it on Steam. I think it's a fine.
I love playing it on Steam.
Yeah. On Steam, it's great. If that never hits a table in front of me again, I'm completely okay with that.
Agreed.
I assume that's nostalgia for you. That's the only reason you would ever play it.
Exactly.
No, it's a story. It's not just nostalgia. There is a little bit of a look what happened to my guy. This sucks, and I can laugh along with it. It is not a strategic game, but it creates a narrative that is enjoyable to an extent.
Yeah,
that's
you can turn into a toad, and you can restart.
Exactly. Yes.
I love the paperback app. We'll get into ones that I like. I like that one because that one feels to me like it should be an app. You know, the game itself, even though I like playing it on the table, it feels like it should be an app, right? I like that. I'll play games. It's just I don't necessarily like them. I didn't like the Owner Room app at all, and I know our co-host here, Kimberly, has played it like 5 bajillion times
while she's been
on the show.
On the show, I played it probably close to a dozen times, and I haven't touched it again. I try to like them.
You know, the other. Oh, go ahead.
What else? Patchwork. I guess I should say that's a good one, right? Because you know, 40 plays of it or so, and it's got to be considered a good app.
Patchwork is one of those games that the app actually made me dislike the game.
But I also don't play board game apps when I'm not playing against somebody. I don't play them just solo.
I was just gonna say that's the other category here is and there's some of this going on in the chat room is a lot of the reasons for these apps is just to be able to play with another person when you can't play together. So Eric Buscemi and I are playing Lords of Waterdeep right now. It's probably my turn.
Go ahead and check it real quick.
Yeah, let me check real quick. And you know, Ascension's a great one. That's a game I'd never want to play in person. Star Realms is a game I'd probably not want to play in person. Patchwork is good. I like that actually in person.
Yeah, Star Realms I don't even think of as a card game anymore.
Right. But anyway, those are good. Those are really good AC games. It's just like take a quick turn, you know.
Okay. Yeah. So let's break this down because we can give anecdotal evidence to good versus not good versions for days, right? Like we could go through, there are hundreds of apps. We could talk about which ones are good and aren't good. Let's talk about what makes them good though. Like what is it about a game that makes it a good candidate for an app port? Because every game gets ported now, right? Like, I mean, there is no such thing. I can't think of very many that don't exist somewhere as an app. And I hesitate to include like Tabletop Simulator and Tabletopia here.
Oh gosh, that's a whole other world, yeah.
But but you can play those digitally as well. That's another way to get what you were talking about, which is I want to play games with people that I'm not here with.
It's your fix is really what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So let's talk about what is it that makes the game a good app. Like we will just stick to smartphones for right now. Let's just stick to smartphones and tablets because I think once you sit down at a computer, it's all.
I'll tell you a couple of things. It's got to load fast. It's got to have really good functionality. Some simple things like either really intuitive. And undo is a thing I'll complain about a lot if it doesn't have that, or keep you from screwing up or whatever. But even Lords of Waterdeep, which Eric and I like to play, it takes forever to load up. I'm like, why does this game take so long? I mean, we're a couple seconds longer than some others, maybe, but still, it's like it's just if it's not fast and easy, I'm not going to play it. Because I could play something faster. Because we're talking about I'm waiting in line at the grocery store and I'm taking a turn. Yeah, I'm waiting, at the coffee shop. I'm taking a turn is how long these things are occurring, or I'm waiting for something to occur and I'm taking a turn. I'm not sitting and playing these games forever. I'm like, hey, I got a notification, and the notifications work. That's another thing that I might.
They have to work.
They have to work. They're just basic functionality.
That basically killed the Potion Explosion app for most people.
Yes.
Is when it just didn't work. And then to top it all off, they made their games all timed. So.
Right.
And I won't even start with the whole Potion Explosion is already an app.
It's an app that turned into a game. That turned into an app.
Yeah. We don't need an app version of a cardboard version of an app game. That's dumb. Yeah. But whatever. That is to me, there's my curmudgeon side. See, I'm no longer love spreader. Now I can grump about crap again.
You'll quit spreading the love.
Yeah. All right.
Sorry.
Ben in the chat room mentioned card shuffling. I think that's a big deal, right? Like any game where you have, and I would say any like card or card manipulation in general, right? So this is why I will play Ticket to Ride on my phone, but I won't play it in cardboard form. Because I think the card choosing mechanic just there's one person that all they do all game is flip cards and put cards in this spot in this row 5, and it's annoying. It gets real old.
Yeah.
So like anytime you have anything, deck builders work really well as apps, right? Because there's all the shufflings handled for you, which is why paperback works, Dominion works, all these. Like anytime where you have a lot of little bits that need to be scooted around in order to
the fiddliness aspect. I don't mind the fiddliness aspect in games. I like fondling games. But yeah,
Cubist After Dark.
Yeah, Cubist. So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Fiddly game. Yeah, a good app is going to take care of that for you, and it's instantly going to be. Most people are going to think, "Hey, it's a little bit better because I don't have to shuffle 43 times."
Yeah, well, and fiddly doesn't necessarily need to talk about the components either, right? So like games where there's a lot of upkeep or math or data that needs to be automatically dealt with. The two that leap to mind here are Through the Ages, where it deals with your feeding and your corruption and all this other stuff for you, so that way all you need to look and see, okay, I'm going to be short of food this turn. You know what I mean? You don't have to sit and think around with all that. And then the other one that I think of is Suburbia, where I would say the app has almost killed the cardboard game for me, because
I disagree with that, but go ahead.
Okay. I would say just because the app says, yes, there are also, 2 other airports out here or whatever.
It takes care of it for you.
Yeah. It takes care of all of that part.
Right. But I still enjoy playing it.
Right. That's fair. I think it resurrected that game for me. I felt like I was just done with Suburbia, and then the app came out and I was like, oh, I like that just fine.
But I didn't raise my score on BGG.
You did not change your rating?
No, I did not change my rating.
Okay. I think I did, actually. I think that I had
just being a jerk.
No, but I'm serious. I hadn't thought about that, but I think I did. I think that I got bored with Suburbia, moved my rating down, and then probably moved it back up once I got the app. So I'm too lazy to look right now. But Leland in the chat says he likes being the card flipper in Ticket to Ride. I would say that, Leland, you seem like a nice guy, but you're an insane person. Nobody actually should like that. That's weird.
We fight over that. I mean, come on.
That's you fight over who gets to be the card flipper.
I'm the card flipper, and then if you mess up, if you get it, and then you mess up, you get yelled at for days.
Oh, Lord, terrible.
All right, do you guys believe in like card destiny? Like
no,
accidentally take the wrong card.
Yep, I do.
Oh my God!
You took my card, man.
You don't pick up your cards until you've got them all dealt to you either, because that'll change everything.
Boo! Yep. I'm never playing blackjack with you. Never. You know what I will do?
Don't worry, I play real card game.
I will sit to your right, Brandon, and I will take hits when I shouldn't and willingly lose $5 just to screw up your card draw. Because I hate it when people get grumpy at tables about that kind of stuff. It's a random deck, people. Cope. It's fine. Whatever. All right. So that's what makes apps good. What makes apps not good? Like app ports of games. What is it that takes away from them?
First off, ugly apps.
Yeah, but
just,
Yeah, it was one.
It's always, if it's turn off. I love the game to call, and I know I'm in the minority with that, but that app is just the worst.
Well, yeah,
and it's because it's just ugly.
I guess I never played to call and never got into that app, probably because it was ugly and or I didn't learn from it. So I'm gonna say both ugly and bad tutorials in the same breath. Because if I can't figure out how to play it, then I might not get into it. So a lot of the games that
tutorials and how the app actually works, not how to play the game, or
correct.
Both. Okay.
Yeah, there's definitely a difference between an app tutorial and the rules. And I would like them to be separate, please. I don't want your app to force me to learn how to play the game. that I might already know how to play, just so that way I can figure out where the hell the undo button is.
Yes.
You know, like that's, they need to be two separate things. I agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
They also, I would say that an app that changes the look of the game significantly is a killer.
Or the play.
Yeah, that's true. Through the Ages.
Think of a game. Yeah.
Through the Ages does this because it has its online mode where bidding is different. And if you don't know about that, you'd be like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, I would say that I understand why they made that choice, and they let you turn that off, which is good. There's an option where that can be turned off, but that was very off-putting at first. I just want the information to look the same as the cardboard version of it.
Yeah.
Right. Like if you change what things look like and you make icons into different things, and then I can't figure out what the hell I'm looking at, that's going to turn me off on it as well. But then again, most games have to do that, right? Because they have to figure out a way to condense a lot of information into a small amount of real estate. And maybe this is why I'm not a big app gamer guy.
Yeah, I tried, I think it was on my, I tried it, like Agricola. And whereas that was just too much information, right? It's just they couldn't condense it. You had to like switch between screens and
see. And I kind of like the Agricola app. I'm not as big a fan as somebody else who was texting me saying, all you got to do is talk about how wonderful the Agricola app is and in the show. I'm not that person, but it is a really good implementation of that.
I don't like Agricola, so
yeah,
it didn't win me over.
It's way too big for any screen, first and foremost. It's all spread everywhere. But yeah, I like that app though.
Terra Mystica is the perfect example to me of a game that I love and an app that I hate. I really love Terra Mystica. It's probably in my top 10 all time, but that app I find on the verge of unplayable. And I know a lot of people really like it.
For the menus and the way you get to things up in the top right of the screen. You know, you got to punch everything to have it all drop down.
Yep.
I loathe that.
Yep. It's just the way that it's formatted. They've moved the information around on me and they made things look different than it should. And I find the app version almost unplayable. And Molly loves it. Like, so here's the other side of this, right? Molly already liked the game and the app. She adores the app and she plays the hell out of it. So it's probably just me, but I don't know. I can't.
Yeah. I've got probably 40, 50 games of it on Terra Snellman, which is the ugliest implementation of a game I've ever seen. And I love it there, but I've maybe played it twice as the app because I just can't deal with it.
Gotcha. All right. Really fast. We're going to wrap up this app and then we're going to go to app helpers. Top 3 board game apps for smartphones, and then make sure that you say your platform.
Well, first off, you got to differentiate for phones or for tablets.
Well,
because
I'll let you make that decision.
Okay, so things don't work good on phones that work on tablets, just because limited screen space.
That's fair. You can factor that into your top 3 however you want.
Okay, because I don't play on tablet.
So I'll do my top 3. I'll go first just because I've already got mine sitting in front of me and I can knock it out. Third place for me is Paperback. Paperback is a great 5-minute time waster game. I, for the record, always play it solo. I think that it's one of my favorite ones. Second place for me is Through the Ages. I like Through the Ages. It's one of the few heavy games that I think the app actually does a pretty okay job of keeping the information in the right spot. I do wish that they hadn't made everything default to that online bidding variant, but I understand why they did it. And first place for me is Carcassonne, which is one we actually didn't talk about previous to this. Carcassonne, the app is amazing. The iOS app. I'm sorry, all of this is iOS.
Did you get the new one or the updated version of it, or?
I just have the iOS app. I don't know if it's been updated.
Because it just released on Steam, and I thought it just re-released across all platforms. But I could be completely wrong.
I know it did on Android.
The app looks the same to me. But I tell you what, I will look in the App Store and see if there's an update waiting for it while you do your top 3. Brandon, go.
Me? Top 3 games are Pokemon Go. Board game apps. I like Paperback. Like I said, I'll play it. Star Realms, I've probably got close to 1,000 plays of it in. So much so that I don't even remember what the cards actually look like in physical form. They probably look like cards. But number 1, I don't know.
There's one.
Looking through what I've kept on my phone is pretty pathetic.
That's what I did too.
It's paperback. Kingdom Builder I like, but I hate because there's no undo.
I would argue that that's not a good game to begin with, but we'll skip that for right now.
I'd argue that you're wrong, and
I know it's fine. You're allowed to be wrong.
I don't know. Paperback Patchwork and whatever else I said.
You said
in no particular order.
Okay.
I'm just not a big. I keep them on there, but they go away so fast.
Sure. All right, we're ending.
Oh, Agricola, like I said, that's the top 3.
Agricola, there you go. All right, we're going to end on a positive because Patrick is of the 3 of us, I suspect the guy that likes board game apps the most. That seems accurate. Sure. Patrick, what are your top 3?
I'm going to agree with Jason in the chat room here. Race for the Galaxy is an excellent app. On Android anyway. Through the Ages, the newest one, is superb. Although I've played a ton of it on the online with
the old ugly version.
The old ugly version with Speedy Brandon. And for Android only, Androminion, which is the absolutely horrible version of Dominion. It's called Androminion, and it looks like text only, and but it plays Dominion for me. Shuffles my cards. It has all the various different decks and different setups, and I can just play it real quick and play a couple games. And you have to find it's not even something in the store. You got to find the APK and download it.
Yeah. Sure. I will also say I'm slowly, as they add more games to Steam or board game apps there to Steam, I'm moving to that over portable gaming.
What is Steam?
What's that?
What is Steam? Is that on your computer?
Yeah, PC based. It's basically just a shop.
It is desktop computer based, not necessarily PC. Just throwing that out there because I have it on my Mac.
Yeah. Sorry, Mac people.
Yep.
Yes.
All right. Brandon in the chat was giving me some crap for complaining about Potion Explosion, because this war of mine started out as a video game and now as a board game. Yeah, I agree. There have been video games that have gone to board game format, and I think we could actually do an intellectual property part 2 episode. Maybe we'll do that as a future episode where we'll talk about stuff where it's not just like Star Wars as IPs, but rather games that have been ported over. I think that's been done a few times pretty well.
Yep, and we're getting books now being ported over. So
yeah, there you go. All right, let's switch to helper apps. So now we're going to be talking about games. First off, I want to start with games that require apps, right? So games where either required or strongly recommended. And there are a few that leap to mind here. The one that got talked about early on in the chat a little while ago was Alchemists, which I am still a big booster for. This was my top game of 2014, the year that it came out. What it does for those of you that haven't played, Alchemist is a deduction game, and the app basically keeps track of the secret answers for you and then answers questions. Basically, when you combine 2 elements, you find out a piece of information, and it keeps track of what elements would turn into what information, whatever. So that technically is not required because you could have a game master that just sat behind a screen and looked at all that crap, but no one would ever want to be that guy unless you're teaching the game.
Most boring job ever, I think.
Well, unless you're teaching the game. Like, it's actually a great way to do it if you want to teach the mechanics to 4 players and be just the teacher. That's actually kind of a cool way to do it, but then you're getting rid of half the fun, right? Yeah. Which is the playing with the app. So there are some games that require apps, right? Like Mansions of Madness 2nd Edition. You have to have the app. Can't play it without it. XCOM, can't play it without the app. Shopping Time that I just talked about on the show earlier today, can't play it without the app. There are a number of those. People got real grumpy when this first started coming up, right? So we'll start with Alchemist, because I think Alchemist was the
XCOM.
XCOM
was the first one that people got grumpy about.
Okay, did that come before Alchemist?
I think so.
All right, I believe you. So yeah, people get crabby about this, right? Because they're like, well, what happens if we don't ever have a, if the app ages out of the platform, are we going to be able to play the game?
Play it on Steam.
Yeah, or web browser, right? Don't they even just have a web browser version of it?
Probably. I
think
know.
They do.
I don't worry about that.
Right. I guess I wanted to start with: is this a valid concern?
Technically, yes, but I mean, you can play your Game Boy on your computer, right? You know,
just because it's
so no.
technically, yeah, I would say I don't think this is a valid gripe. I just don't. I think that we all have played too many games, right? So what are the odds that you're going to be sitting in 10 years going, I really want to play XCOM? I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like it's valid. I don't know. Brandon, do you have an opinion on this, on games that require apps?
Not really. The Stop Thief one is really well done. And I think it works pretty well with it. I haven't played any of the others. I tend to just ignore that they exist.
Mansions of Madness was mentioned in the chat room. That's one that works really well.
Yeah, well, it requires the app, right? Like this, there's not a way around it, and the app does do a really good job on that one.
Yeah, you know, then there's those crappy games like Werewords and Ultimate Werewolf, where it's more of a helper. I don't know if it's required or not. Required.
I never even think about those because they basically are the game. You just have stuff in front of you that's, you know, basically the game is all run from the app, and you just have your, what am I trying to use here? Your props in front of you, basically. So
yeah, to me, I don't think I have an opinion across the board on these. I do think that people just, I think that it's the same people that complained about apps in board games are the same folks that complain about legacy games. They complained before the game came out, before they played it, and they said, I can't believe I'm not going to be able to reset my legacy game. This is a scam, blah, 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 and then grumped about it before ever actually experiencing it. That feels like what this is to me. Mm-hmm. It feels like it every time. It feels like people complaining before they do it because they are convinced that they already have a handle on what it's going to be.
I just don't want to hassle with it most of the time. And I don't feel like I should have to.
Right. And XCOM, it was kind of a pain.
So I just don't play them.
See, and that's a personal taste thing. That's fine. Like if this is just not a genre of games you want to go down the rabbit hole with, that's fine. I'm talking about the complainers that are saying this game
I always thought that was the biggest part of the complaints, though, were people like, you know, I play board games, so I don't have something stuck in front of my face. And I think that I always heard that more than I heard people saying other things. But I know what you're saying.
See, I heard the other one first.
Yeah.
Which was the people grumping about if the app, you know, becomes obsolete or I don't have a device or whatever, then I can't play my game.
Yeah, those get poo-pooed pretty quick.
There's a lot of it. Yeah, whatever. All right. So is there a game? So you have just ignored those except for like your
For the most part, yeah. Stop Thief, I think, is the only one I've really played. Okay. And it works really well. But
see, I love
that's what it was made for.
I love XCOM. Although I prefer it, honestly, the best way to play XCOM is at 4 players. The second best way to play it is solo, but it's wonderful solo, but it's all about logistics and just planning and being efficient. I think it's great. Alchemist is still one of my favorite games that I own. I love the integration. I love the idea that we are evolving as a hobby and making use of these basically supercomputers by previous standards that we all have in our pockets. I think that that's just a cool thing.
I saw somebody, you know, had it at their house. Maybe it was like RuthCon or something where they had like the big screen TV and they ran the app through their TV and made it more like they were in the control room
or something.
Something like that. And that seemed like a cool way to play it rather than just looking at your phone where it was like you were in.
Yeah.
So when I was Love Spreader of the Week, one of the softball questions that I got handed was how many games have I turned into FX versions? Because I'm a DJ, I have a pro sound system, and I tend to run games that have apps or a visual component through a projector or a TV and my sound system anyway. And so, yeah, for sure. Like if you push something through a TV, you know what I mean? It's going to make any of it better. That is actually a failing of the XCOM app. The XCOM app doesn't do anything in landscape mode. It's only portrait, which makes it look really stupid on a TV, which I think was a big fail. They need to fix that. But that was the only one that I can think of that didn't work well for that. But especially Space Alert works great because there's a Space Alert app, which is definitely not required. This is me transitioning, by the way, into helper apps. apps where the app is not strictly speaking required, but makes the game better. Space Alert is one of the ones that I think works really well for this because it randomizes the missions. You don't have to use the CD anymore, which is handy because most of us don't have CD players anymore. See, that's what happens.
I saw a VCR, Bill.
Oh boy, of course you do. Is it sitting on top of your Betamax player, old man?
It's next to my laser disc.
Yeah, you got your reel-to-reel set up in the audio room.
I don't mess with that.
Oh,
I still have my reel-to-reel with my parents.
Of course you do. We are so old, chat room. Sorry,
we can bring it all back to Patrick's Gloomhaven. There are apps coming out left and right, helper apps for Gloomhaven, and help you run it that way. So
yeah, people have scenario apps for that.
Yeah.
I don't know what it means because I haven't played it yet.
Scenario. I could go on.
And somebody was talking about apps up there. We were talking about Betrayal as apps. I don't know what that does. Well, I mean, there's a lot of apps too, like randomizer apps too. We haven't talked about those, just for like setups and and various things like that. Codenames has a good app that replaces the thing. That I've seen some of those. Are pretty cool.
Yeah, friend of the show, Evan Dorn, did a Eclipse randomizer web app. That then, if you have iOS, you can turn any Safari page into a desktop, like a shortcut on your screen. That I have saved because it just randomizes all the factions, which is wonderful. There are a few apps that I will not play the game without anymore. That's a thing. Sentinels of the Multiverse has what's called Sentinel Sidekick.
Yep,
tracks the hit points of every monster and every hero. I won't play the game without that because that is way too fiddly of a game. That app is an absolute must-have. And there's a few other games that I have. I have a folder on my iPhone that has more apps in the board game assisting screen than it does in my actual games, right? Like I've got 51 helper apps. Nope, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the Renegade apps.
Brandon just reminded me the Renegade has a whole bunch of games in it.
Yes, they do.
And we use that for Flatline too.
The Clank. I was just opening it up here.
Yeah, Flatline needs it, doesn't it?
No, you can do it without it. You just need a timer for a minute.
Flatline, lanterns. Oops. Well, you can play lanterns in it.
Sure. Yeah, Flatline. All you need is a minute timer, and you're set.
That's true.
Everything else is
Flatline, Clank, and then lanterns. So with Clank, it adds for the solo mode as well as it adds to the base game.
Okay. Are there any specific game? Are there any games like I was talking about with Sentinels that you won't play without the app?
No, I just won't play Sentinels.
You just don't want to play Sentinels, period?
If a game, I don't know that there's anything out there that's saved a game for me.
Okay.
I don't think even the Sentinels app would save it for me.
Yeah. I adore Sentinels.
I don't think there is.
I adore Sentinels, but I definitely understand. That's a very taste-specific game. Patrick, do you know that you're muted?
No, I'm sorry. I just bumped my cord there.
No worries. Are there any generic board gaming apps that you love that like help with specific, like generic things? So, and we will skip lightly over the logging apps because those are wonderful, but that's not part of what I'm talking about specifically. So like
Schwazi.
Schwazi,
the time for picking first player.
First player,
first player is what I use. I think it's just called first player.
Yeah, it probably is. I like Schwazi as well. It works just well. This is everybody put your fingertip on the phone and then it'll randomly pick one.
That's what first player does. It has like 3 different ones.
Yep, exactly. And the Start Player app, the official one from Bezier, works really well. Mike in the chat room pointed that one out as well. For games that where keeping score is not something, there isn't like a score track or whatever, I am a very big fan of the app Scorekeeper XL for iOS. It literally looks like that. So you can just key in people's names and what color they are, and then add and subtract points. You can have it from high to low or low to high. I think it works great. It's sort of my go-to if I need to score a game app. I've always got that one. It actually has a couple little dumb things that seem like they would be stupid but aren't. Like, for instance, if the leader changes, it'll make a noise, which I think is kind of handy. Well, if you need to know who's winning at any given moment, it'll make an auditory noise to point out that something has changed, which I dig that. and it'll reorder itself based on who's winning and who's losing at any given moment. I really dig that one. Brandon in the chat is suggesting ScorePal for the Android version. My favorite scoring app of all time broke finally. iOS 11 broke it, which really sucks. It's called BG Scorer. If you don't have an iOS 11 device, if you have like an older iPad or whatever, I would strongly recommend going and getting that. That's really good for customized score sheets.
Yeah, that's the one you tried to teach me at one point in time.
Yep.
But it was just too convoluted from my old.
What's funny is that it's not. I probably just did a bad job trying to teach you that night.
No, I think you did fine. I didn't feel like going through and making apps or making score things for different games.
Yeah. See, and I enjoyed doing that because I enjoyed the ability to then just use the app to call out the different categories where points were going to be. So I like that. And I know for a fact that there are at least 2 different people that are working on replacement apps to do that in a user-friendly way. I know that that's coming.
Yeah, I'd never used the 7 Wonders app. Somebody always has it though, so I don't have to worry about it.
Sure.
That's one I don't score by pencil and paper, but everything else is.
Teach you. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Doesn't BG Stats have some of that stuff, or I know they're talking about adding it?
They're talking about adding. I don't think they've started putting them in there yet.
Yep.
Okay.
Susan from BG Stats is actually one of the people that I was talking about that I know is working on it. She and I have been in contact where she sent me screenshots of what they're working on as we speak. So I'm excited for that. That'll be great.
I also use scoring to help with my younger kid, the teacher addition and subtraction too. So that's part of why I do it pencil and paper, just
That's
for you
fair.
people mocking me.
No, that makes sense. I get that. And there's something to be said for that anyway, right? Like just in general, there are teaching moments all over board gaming, and that's a great one. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever.
It didn't work for Gabby, but it seems to be working for him.
For those of us that are already halfway decent at math, though, I got you.
Yeah, I still got to practice, so I keep using it.
They're
like my mad minutes.
There are a couple good card game scoring apps that I can highly recommend. If you are a Teach You player, there's an app called Teach You Guru that I cannot recommend enough because it's really smart about if you scored this much, then the other team must have scored this much and can figure out whether you teach you it or not, and lets you track all of that stuff in a really helpful way. I love stuff like that. So games or apps where it can just take a little fiddly thing and just help automate it just enough that you're barely looking at it, right? I think that's the key for these for helper apps, right? Whereas, go ahead.
No, I'm just going to say, I've come off as kind of negative about the electronics, but that's what turned me to board games, was to get away from it. So I'm holding fast to my old age, get off my lawn stuff.
Sure. No, I get that. For me, I want an app to accentuate the parts that I like and take away the parts that I don't. Right? Like I want it to play to the game's strengths or play to the game's strengths by supplementing them. I don't want it to replace any part of the game. So like, here's a good example. First Martians app, I would argue does not play to that game's strengths, even though the app is required, because I think it has linguistic issues and it's got interface issues, and the game, like it should be a really immersive part of basically what is a storytelling experience on the table. And instead the app ends up getting in the way. And that bothers me, which is too bad because I really like First Martians. Whereas Sentinel Sidekick, the part of Sentinels that nobody likes, which is figuring out how many hit points all the things have and where all the modifiers and whatever are, is the thing that the app does. So it lifts that burden from the game, right? And takes the part of the game that is tedious and turns it into something, it does the heavy lifting for you. I think that that's a big deal. I think that's sort of, to me, the measuring stick. So, all right, top three must-have apps, helper apps, and I don't care if they're game specific or not. That's up to you. And you are welcome to bow out of this one, old man.
I'll just say BG Stats, BG Stats, BG Stats. That's all I use. There you go.
See, and I have it, and I never remember to use it.
Yeah, I technically, what I do is I set it, if I want to know specific, usually if I'm reviewing a game or something, I'll set it up and I set everything up and I just sit the phone off to the side and I let the timer run. And that's basically the biggest thing I use it for. And then after the fact, I'll just log everything else afterwards.
Gotcha.
But I love BG Stats.
Yeah, it's a really good app that I just never remember to use because I'm dumb.
Yeah.
Patrick, how about you? Top 3.
Yeah, I don't really have that many. Schwazi, BG Stats, and my camera.
Oh yeah, camera. I guess I can count that.
That's fair. For me, Schwazi is my number 3 because picking a first player is easy, and at least it just always works. Number 2 is Scorekeeper XL for iOS. If you need just a basic scoring app, I think it's really good. Number 1 for me, I'm gonna go with all of the apps. I'm gonna cheat. All the games that require an app, because I think that those apps bring an extra level to the game that wouldn't be there. So Mansions of Madness and even First Martians, even though it annoys me, and Alchemist and XCOM. And I think that these games do a thing. Mask of Anubis. These
that'd be a fun one.
Make a game and transcend it into the next sort of category of gaming experience, which I really dig. So there you go. That's me cheating a little bit. All right. Well, we kind of hustled through this because we left ourselves with a little bit less time than we had originally thought. And I am going to be the Kimberly and start nagging about what time it is because I don't want to go too long. But we have a couple of questions that got asked in the chat that I don't want to skip before we get out of here. And a couple other suggestions. The Codenames app is really good. I agree with that wholeheartedly. If you want to, there is an app that'll give you randomized key cards, and then it uses the motion sensor, at least on iOS. So that way, if the phone falls flat, it blanks itself out, so you can't accidentally tip the card over. I think that's kind of rad. That one works really well. Let's see, what else? ScorePal on Android we talked about before. What other ones? There were a couple others I think I talked about. And now I'm not going to find them. Great. We're ending this show just as well as we started. Perfect. All right, let's give away some stuff. Should we give away some stuff?
Cool.
Let's give away some stuff. All right. So as promised, the big winners of our ratings contest from last week. We had four entrants, and we've decided they're all going to get games. So we are going to, let's see, we had, we're going to do the, from last to first, I guess, sort of third place to second, fourth, third, second, whatever. Jason Lees suggested, he actually had two in his. He had Gift It for games that you get that are good but don't suit your tastes, just above Forget It. And then he thinks the shirt should have Knock Down Grandma to Get It, which I absolutely agree with.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. So Jason is going to get a copy of Shopping Time sent to him.
Yay.
Good job, Jason.
Good job, Jason.
Yeah. Jim Roots had, he liked Give It also, which is sort of like Jason's, but he put it between Play It and Buy It. So it's better. It's good enough that you think it would make an excellent gift. Jim is going to get a copy of Zombie Slam. Excellent.
Congratulations.
Mike Van de Castile, who I always feel like I'm going to say his name wrong and put the emphasis on the wrong syllable, used visual aids and made a rondelle. He views our rating system as sort of a loop where it, and the fifth one that he put in between Burn It and Buy It was Bleep It. His logic being that it's either something that you love so much that you'll never shut up about it on the show, Terraforming Mars, Patrick.
Warm apple pie.
Yeah,
sorry.
exactly. Or it's something that you hate so much that you'll never be able to restrain yourself from swearing while you're playing it. So we are going to send him a copy of Odin's Ravens, generously donated by co-host.
Pretend I'm holding it right here.
Yes, exactly. There you go.
It's
So
in the other room. I forgot to
like
go get my prop.
congratulations, Mike. And the winner of 51st State, our in honor of episode 51, is going to Annette via Netters in the chat. Thanks, Netters. You're awesome. She had the two that both made us laugh really hard when we read them out when we were talking about it before the show. She had Alpaca It, which is sort of an in joke, but alpacas are awesome. That was above Burn It. But the one that got us for sure was Trade It in the Mediterranean. This is a rating specifically for Euro-themed games that you want to get rid of. We thought that was wonderful. So Annette is going to be our big winner, and she is going to get a copy of 51st State, the master set, graciously donated from Matt in the chat, who is not in the chat this week. So way to go, Matt. Thanks for screwing up your nickname, Ian. So that's awesome. So thank you to everybody that entered the contest. We're going to work on that T-shirt, and hopefully we'll have some new merch up in the store with all these awesome suggestions pasted in there, and maybe a few others of our own creation. Who knows?
Cool.
So let's do some cheap plugs really fast. Before I let you guys do your thing, I'm going to catch everybody real fast. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, you can support the show directly through Patreon. We really want to thank our big sponsor level donator, Ben. Thank you so much, Ben, for helping float the show. We appreciate it. This stuff ain't free, you know. So if you feel like donating at least $1 or more a month, you can do so on the Patreon. We're going to set up new goals. We've talked about it for the last couple of weeks, but I've been a little bit behind the 8 ball with the holidays and whatever. So we're going to get some new goals set up on Patreon. But if you feel like donating the show, go to patreon.com and search for the Cubist Podcast. You can also buy merch at thecubistpodcast.com, and there's links to everything at the top of thecubistpodcast.com. It's basically a one-stop shop. So all the support is absolutely appreciated. Patrick, if people want to know more about you besides your awesome name mispronouncing skills in the Cubist, where would they go?
Well, one, they can find me here in my basement sorting through Gloomhaven components.
Usually with a shirt on.
Yes. Or they can listen to me on What Did You Play This Week podcast, where I do talk about what I've been playing or do conversation things. I don't even know who I'm talking to next. I think I'm talking to Mike Premu about Path to Play. We just dropped, I thought was a lot of fun conversation with Alex Goldsmith with Gray Fox Games and the Dukes of Dice. And I'm on Twitter, of course, at Over the Hillier.
Very good. Very good. Brandon, how about you?
You can find me on the What Did You Play This Week podcast.
Okay.
And everywhere else.
Where would they go find that?
I was just going to try to sell, Patrick's conversation thing, but he already did it. So.
Sorry.
Because it was a good episode. I sat there last night as I was actually putting it all up there, and I laughed a few times as y'all were talking. So I normally do listen to them. Don't get me wrong. This was a good one.
Very good.
Alex is a very personable human being.
Do we like personable human beings?
Alex G. Human.
Hey, really fast before we sign off, I want to. I passed the Love Spread of the Week thing on to Eric Dewey from Onboard Games, who is just one of the nicest guys you're ever going to meet. He helped put together the BGG podcasters panel that we weren't able to get on the show feed. Sorry about that. But he helps organize that every year. He's just a really great guy. Onboard Games been on the air for over 10 years now. They're just so consistent. He's just such a swell dude. So if you go to the Love Spread of the Week thread on BGG, pound him with questions, folks. I don't very often do calls to action on the show, but I would really love it if everybody would just deluge this man with questions and show him a little bit of extra love this week, because Eric's a great guy, and I think that it's nice when we can kind of give nods to really cool people in this weird little corner of the internet that we call podcasting.
Hey, a little plug for Eric and myself. He and I are James Bond fans, and we've been doing a series on James Bond movies and our fandom. And on his Inverse Genius show just released, I think it was this week or last week, was our Roger Moore segment that we recorded at BGG together.
That's awesome.
Wow, cool.
Very cool, very cool. Anyway, thanks so much for hanging out, folks. I appreciate it. Audio people, don't forget to hit up the YouTube channel every Monday night at 9 p.m. Central. You can get in on this chat room also. Chat room, thank you so much for hanging out with us. We love all of y'all in the chat room. You guys make the show what it is.
Even Chad for showing up at late.
Yeah, Chad and Josh got here at the last minute. That's fine. Better late than never. We appreciate you anyway. So thanks, everybody, for hanging out. Don't forget the CubistPodcast.com is your one-stop shop for all things Cubist related. We appreciate you. Have a great week gaming. We'll talk to you next week.